Hi, train friends. Welcome to the Ozark, Midland, and Southern Railway. This is Bill B. We are starting work today on creating the rock face for our backdrop between the two mountains on the railroad layout. Because this is an involved creative process, I thought you might enjoy coming along for the ride. I will tell you that this is my third take on this video. I tried to go outside earlier today. It was such a nice day. But with take one, I realized shortly after beginning that I had forgot to turn the camera on. Then in take two, it was starting to warm up outside, and darn if my phone didn't overheat and go into emergency mode, it completely shut down. So here are the molds I have to work with. These are the two that I've already prepped, and we'll set them aside. What I have left now are this medium-sized mold, and this is my largest mold. I don't think we're going to need them right now, so we'll set them aside. And we'll stick to we'll use this mold right here to work with. Okay, to start with, we've got to put on some plastic gloves. That's the instructions call for the use of plastic gloves, and I would tell you you really need them to protect your skin from these chemicals that we're going to be using. And you also want to make sure that you're wearing old clothing. Okay, we're going to start with applying some petroleum jelly to our mold as a release agent. How much petroleum jelly we use really is a matter of experience. You want to use enough petroleum jelly to adequately cover the mold. You got to get it, work it all into all the cracks and crevices. You can tell I'm speeding up the video to help move it along, but I did take my time to make sure that I got as much of the mold covered as I possibly could do. And then the next step was to apply some, in my case, I'm using semi-gloss protective enamel. I would tell you that Bragdon Enterprises actually recommends that you use a gloss, a white enamel. But when I purchased my paint at the store, they just simply didn't have any gloss available at the time. The semi-gloss worked well when I did my tunnel liners, so I'm hoping that it'll work well here in this case too. Okay, I've got to take it outdoors, and I'll be back momentarily. Okay, so here we are. We've applied the petroleum jelly, and now we also applied the white semi-gloss spray paint, and we're ready to we've ready now to after having dried, we're now ready to apply the cast satin. You notice I've got two little cups that we'll put our the individual parts A and B into those little cups. Then we'll mix them in a larger cup. So here we go. Part A. We want to get an equal amount now of part A and part B. And we'll combine the two chemicals to create our mixture. Stirring it up Make sure it's well stirred. The chemicals are very temperature sensitive. The warmer they are, the faster they're going to set, begin to harden. In my case, the room temperature is about 73 degrees. It does not take long at all for the chemicals to begin setting. Oops, got a little bit of a leak there on one side of the mold. Put these little paintbrushes underneath to kind of help hold it in place. There, hold it up. Okay, there we go. Now I better get busy because this stuff's going to begin hardening here very soon. It'll begin to turn a milky color, and that's how you know that it's beginning to set. So you really got to get working around the edges. You don't want to go over the edges, or really, if you can, you kind of try to avoid actually going all the way up to the very top. I can't say that I did that here, but it's easier to release the mold if you can avoid getting right on the very edges. Now it's going to take a few minutes now for our mixture to harden, and here it is, ready to go now to the next step, which will involve using our polyurethane foam products. Again, we got a part A and a part B. I will note, I'm disappointed in myself in the fact that I didn't put on my plastic gloves to do this, because I should be wearing plastic gloves. Again, we're going to mix equal parts of part A and part B now of our polyurethane foam. It is important that we use equal amounts. And the other thing I didn't do here is I didn't. I actually what I did is I began mixing the chemicals in the one of the small cups. Rather than putting it in the larger cup. It didn't take me very long to recognize that I had forgotten to use the large cup. So here we go. I grabbed that. I'm going to stir it just a little bit, just to kind of mix the chemicals together. Then I pour them into the larger cup, where I'll finish mixing. The chemicals, once mixed, begin that chemical reaction very rapidly. So there was a little bit of wasted time there. So now we're going to spread a thin coat of the polyurethane foam now over our casting. We want to try to make it a thin coat because it's going to expand 40 times its volume. You'll see as I'm beginning to spread this around that it doesn't take very long before you can see how it's beginning to react. Yeah, there you go. You can see how it's already beginning to set. I would tell you too that I threw away the earlier brush I used with the cast satin. I've got to throw this one away as well, because once you've used it, you're done with it. So there's our mold and our casting. You want to get it to let it hard just to the point that it's maybe just a little bit tacky, but it's clearly you can begin to separate the mold from the casting. You still want you don't want to wait till it just hardens completely, because then it's you've lost any flexibility you have. So you have to kind of work very carefully around the mold to avoid damaging it. Again, I've sped it up to kind of this process here on the video to kind of move the video along, but it does take some time to carefully remove the casting from the mold. Once you have worked all around the edges, you can begin lifting now the casting from the mold. You see how it's lifting up now, but you still got to be kind of careful because you want to make sure you keep all keep the mold intact or keep the casting intact. I just kind of continue to kind of work the mold away from the casting. Just want to try to avoid damaging either the casting or the mold. There we go. There we go. Well, here's our casting, ready to apply to our backdrop. Okay, now, so I brought the backdrop to the table, and we're going to use this liquid nails construction adhesive to adhere the casting to the backdrop. Liquid nails is a pretty neat adhesive because it adheres so well to so many different construction products, to include foam board. I will note that I covered my foam board with a product called Gripper, which is a sealer primer, and it leaves a toothy surface, so I figure the liquid nails will adhere real well to it. You can see here that I'm orientating the rock casting to how I think it ought to be placed. Before we can actually use the liquid nails to adhere our casting, I've got to trim my casting a little bit to fit the space, and that's what I'm going to do now. So using a pair of scissors, I'll just kind of trim the casting as best I can to fit the space. Again, I've kind of sped it up here to kind of move things along. It'd been a good idea if I kind of marked the ends of my where I was going to place this at each end. If I'd marked it on the foam board, so there I would have had a better idea as to where I wanted to put the glue on the foam board. But right now I'm just putting in some glue on the back surface of the casting. Using a stick to kind of smear the glue along the foam board. Kind of spread it out a little bit. Now we're ready to set our casting in place. After I make sure I've got good contact, I'll place some weights on top of the casting to kind of hold it in place while I go ahead and make and apply some additional castings to kind of fill this whole rock face area. Well, train friends, I'm excited to say that work on the backdrop section has started. In this video, I told you how I wanted to use geodesic foam scenery method to create the rock face on the second level of the backdrop. I prepped the molds and then cast the rock pieces that were then applied to the backdrop using liquid nails construction adhesive, suitable for foam board. Then, using leftover smaller pieces of castings, I filled the larger gaps between the pieces. So part one of what should be a short series is now a wrap. I hope you'll stay tuned for part two, where I will show how I'm going to fill the joint lines in crevices where the rock castings come together, and hopefully make them almost disappear. Then I'll show you how I am going to prep the rock face for painting. So until we meet again on the OM&S, do take care. This is Bill B. And remember now, the OM&S is pulling for you. Bye now.